Hey friends, this is Tyler here from Rehab to Fab Designs, and I am going to do a quick little video to show you how to paint some stripes on your drawers. This is an antique chifforobe that I'm working on for someone. It's going to be going to a beautiful little princess, and it is painted in Dixie Belle in flamingo and fluff. So I've got the interior of the doors here trimmed out with tape, and I've got the outside frame painted in flamingo, and I think I'm going to leave the inside white because the front of the cabinets have a blend on it. So right now I've got these two drawers that are in here that are primed, and I am going to go ahead and put a little bit of paint on them, and instead of just painting them solid flamingo or leaving them solid white, I thought I would paint them and put some stripes on it just to add a little bit of extra interest. So I do have the sides of the drawers here taped off with tape so I don't make a mess, because I do tend to be a little bit of a messy painter. I'm using my favorite tape here. This is Scotch brand. It's 3M blue painter's tape. And so I like to use it because I get nice, good, clean lines. When you're painting stripes, you want to make sure you always put your base coat color over top of your tape once you get it applied, because that will keep you from getting bleeds. I'm going to show you how. I'm going to put a quick coat on here for my base coat, and then I'll show you how to tape it off. So once that first coat dries, you want to come back and put a second coat on in your base color. In my case, it's flamingo. And the reason we're doing that is because once we put our tape on and start putting our secondary color on there, we're not going to be coming back over it with the base again. So you want to have your two coats on before you tape, and then I'll show you how to prevent bleeds. Okay, so my two coats of paint are dry, so now it's time to start taping it off. And I will tell you, sometimes it doesn't end up being symmetric if you put your tape on here. Say if you start with blue here and you run all the way across, you may end up with your white in this example on the end, and it won't match the other side. And so if that's the case, you want to adjust your tape a little bit so that you hopefully can make it symmetric. So I've already done that and kind of laid it out before I started recording, just so I'd know where I'm at. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to use, this is my marker tape, and I'm putting it flush here up against the edge of the drawer, and then I'm taking my next piece of tape. This will be my tape that stays in place, and I'm actually going to skip a little bit. I don't want to put that completely flush right there, because I know just because I did it beforehand that if I do, the lines will not end up being symmetrical. So once I put that on there, I'm going to move my other marker over, and I'm going to put it flush right here. And then I'm going to come with my next piece of tape, same thing here. I'm going to skip it over just a little bit, about the same width that I did on the first one. And then I'm going to lay that one. And if you need to for a guide, you can kind of leave that there. So this is the width we're leaving in between each two pieces of tape. So next piece of marker tape is going to be flush. And then I'm going to come back with my longer piece again, which will stay on when I paint, and we're going to move it just a hair over, and we're going to keep going with that all the way to the end. I'm going to go ahead and start over here on this side. Actually, I'm doing it backwards, sorry. This is going to be my marker piece, and then I'm going to come back with my tape. I'm going to move it over a little bit. And then you should end up where you have this and about the same width right there. Now it may not be exactly perfect, but it's going to be pretty dang close. And I'm going to move this one just a tad. So that you should have about the same amount in between each one. So when I take these marker pieces off, this will be white, this will stay flamingo. This will be white. This will stay flamingo. This will be white, etc., etc. So I'm going to leave this one on just till I mark my next drawer. So same thing, I'm going to start flush over here. That's my marker piece. Then I'm going to come in with my tape. Same thing, just moving it over just a hair. It also kind of lines up with the top of the drawer right here. And I'm going to come with my marker piece. Flush with my marker. And skip a little bit. And I do have my tape long enough so that it wraps over the top of the drawer here, because I am going to be painting that as well. Ooh, almost got this one too short. I think I did get it too short actually. Barely. And then that'll be my last marker. So once you get all those in place, you can go ahead and take your markers off. And we won't be needing them again. And you want to make sure you rub your tape to make sure it has a nice seal on it. And it's nice and flat and flush to your drawer or your side panel or wherever it is that you're putting your stripes. The reason being, if they're not flat and flush on your drawer, your paint will bleed up under it. Now, some people just go ahead and start painting their stripes at this point, and that's okay if you can do that. I, however, have found a way that seems to make it a little bit easier for me to get perfect stripes. And how I do that is by painting a base coat on again. So if you paint this base coat color just along the sides of your tape, it will seal that tape to the piece. So that if your paint were going to bleed up under that tape because it's not quite smooth or just because it just happens, this is the paint color that's going to bleed under it, your flamingo. And if that happens, it's okay because that's our base coat color anyways. Now if I went ahead and painted white, it could bleed up under the tape and you would see it. But by doing this, it seals your tape and means that if anything's going to bleed when I come back over it with white, it's going to be this base coat in the flamingo color. That way my white doesn't bleed. So when I take my tape off, when I'm all done, I have nice clean lines with no bleeds. And you don't have to do 2 coats when you do this, just 1 is fine. And that's it. So we'll let that dry and then we'll come back and do our stripes. Okay, so now it's time to come back with our second color. And for that, I'm using Dixie Belle in Fluff. And it's actually the color that I used to blend with the flamingo on the front of this piece. It's pretty white. I don't know if you can see it. So I'm using Kling-On brushes. These are a short brush, a S30. It's my favorite go-to brush for painting in general, but especially blending. So for this part, we're going to paint where our flamingo is now and leave the tape. And depending on our coverage here, I may come back and do a second coat, but maybe not. It's already got 2 coats of paint on it because we put 2 coats of our flamingo. Plus it also has the 2 coats of primer that we started with, so it may be good, we'll see. I'm just going to go ahead and put this on pretty thick so I get good coverage. And Dixie Belle gives you good coverage anyways. It's a good paint, does very well coverage wise. So when you paint around your edges, make sure you go back over the front again, otherwise you can get little runs that can mess up your finish. Now I'm going to come to my next open area. Just keep painting this. And once it's dry, then we'll peel it off and hopefully have some perfect stripes. You want to make sure you get good coverage. You can paint vertically and horizontally. That way it's nice and solid. I do recommend coming back though at the end and kind of doing it all in the same direction, just so you have nice smooth lines and it all matches, so you don't see those brush strokes. I'm really trying to decide if I like this solid white or if I want to blend it. I thought about blending it just because the color is blended on the front, but I left the inside panel of the doors here white, so I thought maybe I would just leave them white so they match that. How's it going, dude? Funny. All right, I'm gonna let this dry, see how good my coverage is, and we may be done. Okay, so I am gonna go ahead and do one more coat of paint on here, just so I have good coverage, because I can see just a little hue of that flamingo behind it. Mostly where like the brush strokes are. Okay, time to peel this tape off and see what we got. Hopefully we've got some perfect stripes on here. The hard part now is trying to figure out where your tape is after doing all that and painting over top of it. So we'll start peeling, see. Perfect line. Makes my heart happy. But as you can see, by putting that base coat and that darker color over top of your tape, it prevents your next color from bleeding once you apply it. We've got nice clean lines there. A little bit of a smudge under there, but I think I can probably get that off with a little bit of water. All right, that's it. Look at that, pretty as can be. All right, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure and follow us on all social media. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, all the things. Also YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Thanks as always.